What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about the potential for the Court of Owls in Gotham Knights. Now, we've talked about the Court of Owls before, but I really want to lean into them and talk about why I think this is a really good opportunity for these villains. And just in general, as I've said multiple times, one of the reasons why I really do like the idea of Gotham Knights is that we hopefully are going to get some looks into different villains that we've never seen before in the gaming medium, maybe even in the movie medium, right? We can get that. We also get Warner Bros. Montreal's original take, or their own take on the thing. So even a character, like I've said before, like Joker, technically they did do their own take in Arkham Origins. There was obviously the take in the other, the trilogy of the Arkham games, but if they did it in this world, this is an entirely new universe. They get to kind of build him. Obviously, there's things you have to follow, but they have kind of an open slate to build him how they want to. You know what I mean? I think that's really, really exciting. So for this video, I wanted to look at the main bad guys, talk about maybe how much they'll be used, all that good stuff for the Court of Owls. So as always, if you guys are new here, or if you guys have been here and you haven't subscribed, please make sure that you do. We're obviously quickly approaching 50,000 subscribers, and we're going to get there. Hopefully, we get there rather soon, and I definitely appreciate all of your guys' support. So again, make sure you're subscribed, bell icon turned on. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Also getting very close to the 2,000 follower milestone over on Twitter. Okay, so would love to have you guys over there as well. Link for that is in the description below. Okay, so as I've said before, I don't know much about the Court of Owls. I don't know much about really anything when it comes to comics of pretty much any medium, any franchise, anything like that. So I am really open for anything for this game. I just hope that they've learned from the mistakes of not only them in Arkham Origins. And by the way, I'm not saying that means Arkham Origins was just a giant mistake. Actually, it wasn't. But, the mistakes that have happened in the past games. But that, again, doesn't only mean Arkham Origins. It also means all the other Arkham games. I want a really good villain. I think the idea of having a villain group, because it's not even just one person, a villain group as powerful, from what I do know, as the Court of Owls. I mean, the Court of Owls are a pretty solid foe for Batman, right? They know his identity. They're pretty much everywhere, right? They got their eyes and ears everywhere. They're very rich. They're very powerful. I mean, it's a really cool group. I love their identity, how they actually look, right? So I think they have an amazing setup. Now, again, it's up to them to choose how they want to do it. And even just and let me say this too, because I play the trailers every single video, Slick Mob, Degenerate J, we all have talked about the trailers, we all have played the trailers. One of the things that does get me every time I watch the trailer, though, is all of the Court of Owls scenes. They do look so mysterious and dark and cool in that way, you know what I mean? And then we only get a couple, looks at them, but I am so impressed, even just right now, from what we've seen of them. Now, again, it could turn out to be a complete failure. That's definitely possible, but I really hope they nail them because, again, not only are they cool, not only are they powerful, not only are they kind of always one step ahead. Batman's always generally one step ahead. They're actually one step ahead of him, but also Batman is gone, okay? Now, is he entangled in the Court of Owls? Definitely possible, right? So you have that kind of connection that could definitely be there, but if you don't, if he actually is dead or he's gone, or even if he is connected, but they really don't make that big of a deal, of it until maybe the very end, you're really on your own. You're 4 reasonably new recruits. I mean, yeah, he's been training them for quite some time, but they're not to the level of Batman. Let me say that's probably a better way of saying it, right? You have 4 people that are very talented, and some have been in the roles longer than others, but you're not nearly as smart. You're probably not nearly as physically talented and able to do certain things that Batman does. And you're facing probably the most powerful group or just villain in general that we've faced in really any of the, now I get this is an Arkham game, but in any of the Arkham games. So again, I really love that. Now, there is still a lot that we don't know. They've talked about this game being very much a detective case. Now, that is kind of cool. I think that you obviously don't, the group of the Court of Owls, you really don't fight them. You fight their talons that are kind of their henchmen, right? We don't know much about how that'll work. Now, some of the stuff remember that week leading into DC fandom, some of the hints seem to suggest, well, number one, a very big world, a very big open, place just to kind of go around, but also, are certain districts going to, again, basically be controlled by different things. Now, we don't get a sense of that at all in the gameplay. In the gameplay, we're in one, I'd say, like, pretty tight area. You know, we're driving, you only go through a couple streets, and then you're, like, at your destination. You're at Mr. Freeze's, like, giant castle, and everything's kind of being frozen over. And again, we don't even know how that plays out. Like, does that side quest kind of take over the main world, and like everything becomes ice, even though technically there should have been Talons guarding like that area, but because you're doing a side quest, like, you know what I mean, it's kind of like a gaming thing where they're just gone and like Mr. Freeze takes over. So we'll have to see how that exactly plays out, but I do like the idea of, and again, we don't know about the Nemesis system. That would be really cool if it was in the game. I know I had theorized before anybody, by the way, I had theorized that the Nemesis system could be in this game, or why at least it would be a good idea to, like, why it would work in this game. And I don't know if they're going to actually do it. I don't think, as of right, like, if you had to ask me right now, I would say no. I would say it doesn't look like or sound like they're going to be doing it, but it would be cool. I just hope they don't take too much focus away from them. And that is a balancing act because, again, you do have to have your side villains. Mr. Freeze is already one example. There hopefully will be many more, right? You have the main, but the main story should be about them. One of the biggest problems with Arkham Knight was splitting, basically, the main story between 3 different villains, in which Joker became #1 yet again. And Scarecrow, for what it's worth, and I've always said this, I really loved him for the most part in that game, but he disappeared for like the entire middle act of the game, and then when he came back at the end, he was kind of stupid, kind of weak, kind of annoying. There was a lot of problems with him towards the end, but the first, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 hours of Arkham Knight, he was like actually being built up to be very, very good, and I loved everything we got from him at that moment. So hopefully they don't do something like that again. Now again, I get that's not them. That wasn't, but even you look at them, they are not masters. They're not masters of deceivery, but they have deceived us before with the Black Mask Joker trick, right? So hopefully they've learned stuff from that and said, okay, look, we're going to go with the Court of Owls. We're going to go with a very powerful and big group that's always like one step ahead. We got to lean into it. We can lean into it through detective work, through trying to find Batman, and obviously the Court of Owls have something to do with that, or why he died, which also same answer, right? They would have something to do with that. We could play with the Talons and make them very formidable opponents, okay? And then eventually, obviously, we have the conclusion with the Court of Owls, and I think they have, again, I don't have too many ideas of what they can necessarily do, but I do know that the potential is very high, and I also do know that the #1 thing they can't do is try to take focus too far away from them, okay? And again, the only way I could see them doing that is by introducing other villains that become main villains in the game. One, remember, very early leak about this game, or rumor about this game, was that Joker, now this is back when people thought Batman was going to be playable, so a lot of that stuff was wrong, so you know, we don't really know how much we can believe in that stuff, but remember, one of the things was like Joker was going to be a side villain who would eventually work his way into being a main character in the story. So he was going to be like a side thing, and he would start as a side thing, but then he works his way in, for whatever reason, he works his way into the main game, and he helps you defeat the Court of Owls. But again, he helps Batman defeat the Court of Owls. Now, if Batman is alive, that could easily still happen, right? But again, a situation like that, I mean, yeah, that's kind of cool. I would, in a way, like to see that. But #1, you're again elevating Joker probably too high for people's liking. And #2, you're again taking away from the Court of Owls, because now you've introduced somebody else that kind of takes the spotlight away. Let them be the main bad, is pretty much what I'm saying. And as long as you do that, as long as you make them scary, not in terms of like, oh my god, like I'm gonna not sleep at night, but as long as they feel kind of menacing, where you feel like you're going up against a really big threat, that's, I think, the best they can do. And I think if they do that, they're going to be pretty successful, at least with the main story and at least with the main villain in this game. So let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think? Well, you know, what do you think they could do with the Court of Owls? How do you think they would handle the story? Do you think they would make their way? Think somebody else, like another villain, would make their way into the main story? Let me know. As always, make sure, again, you guys are subscribed. Bell icon turned on. If you guys want to follow me over on Twitter, Podcast Now 15 is my Twitter handle. Try to do these videos every 4 or 5 days. You guys have been so awesome, and all your support. I really do appreciate all of you guys watching really any of these videos. You guys are so awesome. Thank you so much for all your support, and I hope to see you all on the next video.